Hello everybody, welcome to my live stream. This is the Mythruna weekly live stream. If you've never joined us before, welcome. Tonight we're going to be going into a little bit about some more of the probing for the AI stuff, the agents. We'll talk about that in a second. First, I'd like to thank my patrons. Always appreciate it, especially this time of year as fees for services and things come due. It's nice to have that little offset. So thanks, guys. And so without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the stream. See, there's 2 viewers. So where we left off last time was creating the probes for our little... I was creating the probes for the mobs. So remind us where we are. If we go in here and come on, world load. So if we come into the game and we'll see if it's daytime. Right, so we'll bump up the time a little bit. Place some dudes around. Alright, so the idea is that these guys are walking around, and if we had the the debug thing, we can see their bounding shapes. But there's an imaginary sphere, a probe in front of each of them that they use to kind of see if they're about to run into something and turn. And so we would like to be able to debug that, because right now we just have the 1 probe, but we may have more. In fact, I guarantee you there will be at least 2. It'd be nice to be able to debug them, because it took me 30 or 40 minutes just to get the right size, because I had to tweak it and run it and tweak it and run it. So that's what we're working on today. Last week, as you guys may recall, we got the basic service up and running, the state, and we left off where we have to actually add the listener. So we've got the agent container that finds all of the mobs that have those agent types. So it knows that we should have a mob driver in there for somewhere for them. Keeps these in a list that we can access, and now we need to sort of add a listener into the the back-end systems so that we can check the physics space and find the rigid bodies and so on, and find their control drivers and query things about them. So that's what we'll start with right now. One thing I do want to do is hook this up to settings really quick. I'm going to steal some code from over here. So if we get the Mythruna config, and so right now we always set ourselves disabled and we require a key. When we're debugging this a lot, it would be nice if we could just see it every time we came in. So let's make sure we've got Mythruna config loaded. Alright, so we got that. And so now we should be able to say config, and what is a lot of cut and paste coding here. Get startup setting. Yeah, something like this. And so we'll call this one probe debug state enabled, and by default it will be false, but that means we can come in here. In fact, let's do this for the other ones too. Though they're a little trickier. Oops. So first let's import Mythruna config. Crap. Okay. So the idea being that I think I can get child. Yeah, I can definitely get child. Okay, so get child set enabled. So we gotta do this. Oops. So I'll do that for this. And this I probably could have done. In fact, we'll just centralize all of this. We'll remove this. Let it default to that. Get rid of this. Keep that simple. We'll do all the config setting in one place. So we want this to be probe debug state. So we got probe debug state, contact debug state, and body debug state. So all these default to false. But if I put these in Mythruna config, where'd it go? It's down here. Okay. So if I add a new true, add a couple of these. So contact. So whenever you have a chance to save yourself a little time, do so, because it already takes so long to run the client and get into the game. You know, why I have to hit extra keys and stuff to get started. As discussed in previous streams, I see this, you know, log in a lot. Good evening, Arsene Lupin. So yep, see, they're already set. So cool, we've got contact debugs and everything already set. Which means if I go like this, yeah. If I was to hold my sword or my axe, yeah. So that's what I, you know, worked on this past week was, you know, being able to swing your tool around, which you guys may have seen in the other video. You know, so we can see the when it hits the ground, we can see the contacts, which is kind of cool. Whack. Whack. Okay. Anyway, so what we want is to now debug those probes, and so we're all set. We can do it without having to take extra steps, which is always good. Okay, so let's get back to work. So as discussed last time, we could do this a lot of ways, but I think I'm going to go with just a brute force way and create a probe or agent listener system. And that's going to just be, it's going to act like a game system. And we have some requirements thus. When we do this, we've got some abstract methods to implement. We have to, at a minimum, do this, but we are going to also do update. So we got some weird threading stuff to deal with here because this system is going to be running on, you know, the internal game server thread. Oops, we don't need start. And so, you know, we need to in update here, we'll check all of our current probes. We'll iterate over our probes. That's interesting. So there's a little bit of a threading issue here. We actually, yeah. Well, thanks. I'm glad you could make it. Yeah, time zones are weird, right? This is the earliest I could do it because of, you know, family and life things. So in this, we want to, here's the thing. So we want to iterate over the existing agents and see if they have drivers now. Body, rigid bodies, and drivers. The issue is that, well, first let's make sure we can, well, we've got the game systems here. So I should be able to add, let's see, private, what do we call it? Agent listener system, agent listener system, new agent listener system. Okay, so we should be able to add system. You're 15 when you hear. What was I doing? Oh yeah, game system manager. How do I add a system? Add system. Well, that's useful. How convenient. And we'll remove it again just to be good citizens. And wow, how long ago was that? How long ago did you first hear about Mythruna? Because I've been developing it a long time. Okay, so we should be able to iterate over that. The only issue is syncing to this array. And I think we might go brute force with this one. Unfortunately, this is bad practice, by the way. Do not do this. It's horribly inefficient to do this. But in this case, we're already in a debug state that's going to be not very efficient anyway. And so yeah, do you do software development now yourself? Sometimes that's a key way to learn. Yeah, so I should really be doing this here. We should add the system when we're enabled, and we should clean up the system when we're disabled. Yeah, so we're not doing busy work. Okay, so do we do that? We have for those. Okay, so in here we need to add the, not here. So entity containers always have an array of the objects, the view, but because it's protected, we can't call it directly from in here unless we do this little jog through semantics here. Oops, not cleases. So we'll oh yeah, all kinds of problems. So we didn't sim. That should get us partway there. Okay. So we did that, and oops. So let's move this comment down here for a second, because we're all clean up here. Everything's all hooked up. We're doing this inefficient sync and sync, which is going to potentially kill frame. We'll see. Oops. And in here, what we want to do, probe debug view. Is that what I called it? Probe debug view. View agents get array and view. We'll just call it acquire. I don't have a better name for it now, but this will be what we use to see if we can find our rigid body. Let's see, entity ID M block shape, I think, and then agent driver. Okay, so those are our things that we're after. Is developing a game in your free time is totally impossible. What kind of engineering do you do? Okay. So that should be good. The only other thing we need is we have to here. We also want to do one of these bits. Every time we update, view update position. Okay, we're getting closer. We've still got to put in the whole conveyor relative root stuff. Got to implement the method to update position. So in here, we want to ask the physics space, do you have a rigid body for this? And what is the method to do that? I think we actually have to go multiple levels deep. Physics space won't let us ask directly because we need to ask the bin index, I believe. So there's a whole chain. You know, physics space in normal physics engine, all the rigid bodies are just always in the physics space. In Mythruna, or in the mphys, which is what this is the open source physics, it's all zoned, so you can't just ask for it because that section of the world might not be loaded. So you have to ask the bin index for, see, can we? I can activate when I can, okay, I can get it. So this will load it if it's available. So if for this particular ID there already is a rigid body loaded currently in the physics space, then we'll get it. And so what we want to do is we want to say body equals space get bin index get rigid body. Okay, and then we'll use entity get ID. We'll only do this if driver is not equal to null. We're good. Oops. Exit early. So if the body is, and so if body equals null, no body yet, and otherwise we can try to see if we can get the driver. Body.get, is it control driver? Yes, if I used an IDE I could just get the completion. I know. You see, sometimes I'm thinking about something else too. Because physics space control driver. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Log info got driver or entity. Okay. We go ahead and do this too. If driver equals null, log warn, no driver yet, or entity return. So just so we know, I think we won't have debug stuff yet, but we should be able to at least see in the log the messages. Okay. Cannot be converted to rigid body entity and block shape. Oh, entity ID. There's some. That should work. And we're halfway, not quite halfway through. Okay, agent driver. We've got to. I think it's in there. No. It will be in that. Alright. Oh, yeah, of course. It might not be an agent driver, but we know what it is. Ah, materials engineering. There's a little bit of Mythruna that will intersect with materials engineering. Kind of like the materials engineering for dummies level, though, where I have to have like substance types and how they interact with each other. As far as attachment and friction, and fortunately I don't have to deal with things breaking and all that garbage. Okay, so got a lot of. Okay, so we won't actually know. I should be able to turn it. Okay, well, all our things went away. All right. So, whoops. Let's just keep the sound one that's not a sound one equipped. Let's see what we got. Okay, what do we got? Agent driver, no. You know what? I'm just going to exit out and check the logs. Grep. It's not going to let me do that yet. Okay, so we got a bunch of debug output. Add object update. Got driver. Yay! It found the agent driver. Okay, so that's all hooked up. So good times, good times. So the next thing is to deal with the update stuff. Excuse me, I had to scratch my ear, so if you heard noise through the microphone, that was me adjusting my headphones. And so what I did was I pulled up the body debug state, because we basically want to do what it's doing. There we go. Where'd it go? There it is. Oops. So body debug state. Hey Ron, how's it going? So in this update position, you know, we got so we have our debug view, position, orientation. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff going on here. Yeah, so let's set local translation view origin. So yeah, we're gonna I'm gonna cheat, and I do this a lot, where well, you know what I'm just gonna do. This is a cheat I use in my editor just because it's easier to that way I don't have to like move all around. I could just cut and paste things like this. Yeah, talk amongst yourselves. You guys, all you guys may be too young to get that reference. Okay, so last center of world, view origin. We're gonna need this stuff probably. Do we need eye location? What does body debug state use eye location for? Oh, for the fade distance. Yeah, we. Okay, well, we'll prepare ourselves for wanting that. I don't think we will. but we'll prepare ourselves for wanting that. And so what that means is we've got, so we're going to keep track of the center of our world as, we're all sitting on a conveyor belt, that moves in all directions, whereas the camera is always effectively in the center, and the world moves underneath us. And this keeps track of where we are in the world, both, in their grid, and what the view origin is, because all of the objects will be placed relative to that view origin. Yeah, there's a old Saturday Night Live bit. Mike Myers did a coffee chat impression of a older Jewish woman, and that's she'd talk amongst yourselves when she would get upset. She'd give us a topic to discuss. I'm showing my age. When Mike Myers was on Saturday Night Live. Your autocorrect's awfully French. So is your name actually Lupin, or are you named after the character? So we've got all that set up. Now let's steal the other eye location stuff. First of all, we're going to need to get, we're going to make an object root. So we're going to need that. Why didn't I copy that over? There it is. Yeah, so I copied all that. Cut and paste coding at its finest. Then we create an object root and initialize. This is where we could initialize our templates for whatever geometry we want as well. But okay. But that would be quite a coincidence otherwise. Okay. Yeah, I come at Lupin backwards because, my first exposure was to the anime, the Lupin the Third or whatever, and then I've recently watched the Netflix series, at least season 1, and I think part of season 2, where he talks about the books. Yeah. What was I doing? Oh yeah. We're cutting and pasting. So this one in update, it calls update center, which we will also do. I don't think we need to update visibility, do we? Oh, that's for the fading stuff, so no, we don't need to do that. We do need to update center. So we will steal that code at least. So this will do the update position where it will shuffle the body location and probe location over to the view into a data structure that we can use from the update thread. And so in update center, we just have to make sure that, yeah, so, no, we'll do it all in one pass. Why not? So we'll update position. So we don't need to do that in here. We don't need to do the update visibility for now. And so that gets us all there. And so then we're all set in update position that if we had an object, if we had a spatial, what does this one do as far as, yeah, so we've got the view. Alright. So let's go ahead and make just a simple test geometry. This is where we're actually use JMonkey engine code. So in here, we're going to make a mesh, something really ridiculous. All right, let's make it slightly less ridiculous. we're going to make a meter, 1 meter box on edge. Test or probe debug. Just so we have something to see if we want to print the thing out. And that's it, I think. We will probably want to release as well, so copy this, disable. We will release all the agents. We're going to be good citizens, and so, you know, during update, yeah, so during update position, if we haven't already been added to the scene, we'll add ourselves to the scene. If we have a driver, so if driver equals null, do nothing. If geom get parent equals null, there's this, yeah. Interesting. When I took French in high school, I did get to the point where I could read French books. I read Count of Monte Cristo in French, which was kind of cool. But that's about as far as I went with it, and I wish that I had read more actual French books when I could do that. I of course can't do that now. It's been, you know, 30 years or something, because I'm an old fart. No, not yet. We're going to need one soon, though, aren't we? Now that we can swing swords at him. Okay, so we've got child attached if we release it. Geom remove from parent. Yeah, the birds, they're called Gafen. But yeah, I frequently refer to him as Burbs with a B, just because the memes. I think it's funny. Okay, so if it's got a driver and we're not attached, then we'll attach it. Otherwise, we need to set it to, what we'll do is we'll copy this code, because I haven't given a material yet. So we're not worried about the shape. We're not so worried about this. Oh, we don't care about the orientation. Well, okay, for now we don't. Alright. Thanks, Lupin. Solve all the mysteries in your sleep, I guess. I don't know. Well, you can catch the rest of the stream later. It'll be up on recording. Okay. Thanks for joining us. Need to copy over. Oops, wrong way. Need to copy over these. Okay, so alrighty. So it's a whole lot of coding without being able to see anything, and I hate that. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. I like to be able to run and try things, run and try things. So in the background thread, no, in the main thread, we've already locked, so we know it should be safe. So we've synchronized on the list. We called it view, so let's call it view. And we're gonna have to give it a material. And here is a quick and dirty trick. Mythruna has a, or not Mythruna, Lemur has some fancy material methods that you can use. So you color RGBA yellow. Let's try the yellow. And true, we want it lit. Get material. So as long as we import Lemur enough, at least for that, Lemur could be globals. We have access to that. We need math D, because we just used a whole bunch of math stuff. Let's see if we compile. We ought to be able to see something. It's not the probe, it's not in the right place, etc. But oh, I haven't imported any of the JMonkey engine stuff. Yeah. Oh, look at the dot stars. We're full of stars. Camera and math. I think camera is in renderer. QRSTUV. Okay. Get camera. We've been watching at home. We've been watching 30 Rock. We're almost done with it, and you know, Jenna on that show, she pronounces camera. Camera. All right. Gotta get us a little further, and then we've got a whole bunch of geomes to fix. Grid. Grid. So where does this one get its grid? I think we can ask the physics space for its grid. My memory for which stuff? My code? It is an advantage. That part, yes. A good memory can be a curse, but for this kind of stuff, it is very nice to be able to keep a whole bunch of stuff in my head. And to be able to like load it and unload it for day job versus Mythruna stuff. Yeah. But that's sort of the other thing about not using an IDE is it forces me to have to remember stuff, and my job is easier if I keep it in my head and so on and so forth. If I don't have like completion to remind me of all the things. And so in a way it keeps my memory a little sharper. It definitely is a lot more work, and you know, some people don't have a choice because they just don't have the memory to begin with. And I think on some level you can't create it if you don't have it. But it definitely helps to be able to remember a lot of stuff. And that's the reason I can get away with not using an IDE, because I've trained myself to remember a whole bunch of stuff. I remember where it is. Nice to see you. NT767. Alright, so we've got, let's see if we can see something then. This is all hooked up now. Right now I'm just putting a big giant yellow box at the rigid body location, so it should be the origin, I believe, of, it should be the center. Should be the center of the burbs, the Gafen. So we still got one of those guys walking around. Does he have a yellow box? He has a... No. He does not. So that is not working. At least we still had a little birdie running around. So there's something I forgot to hook up. He's cute though. The interesting thing about, I like the personality of those birds, and you know, some of it's an accident, some of it's on purpose. And the problem with that is, like, I'm worried like if I adjust anything I'll ruin the accidental cuteness of the burb or the Gafen. Okay, so we had a driver, right? We can check that. Update object. Oh, we never did. We never did get a driver. We never saw the warning either. Yo, we got a driver right there. Got driver. Alright. So... But we never update... No, we do update iLocation. Alright. So... let's add some more debugging. Attaching debug view or Infinity. Alright, so we'll just do a bunch of debugging, try to figure out where we didn't hook something up. I'm sure it's something dumb. It usually is. We update the view. We update the center. And then we never, yes, we update the view origin. And, alright, well, let's see what it's setting things to. Do we update the spatial? That could be it. What's it doing? Let me check. No. We never move... Well, we shouldn't have to move the spatial. Because we don't do continuous movement, so we should be good. Alrighty. See if our burb is still walking around or if I've got to put another one. He's still there. Okay, am I seeing update position, update position, update position? Yes, I am. All those debugs. Oh, but that's a huge... That can't be right. Yeah, so our view origin is 0. So we're not updating the view origin. This guy that we're subtracting view origin never gets updated. So it stays at 0, 0, even though... Oh, I took out the update center. Oh no, I put it up here. So camera position, get location. Oh, okay, and the, yeah. Or it's very small because we're not really calculating. Yeah. Why does this code work over here and not over here? So what are we doing differently? This is what we're doing differently. We have physics debug state that is setting the origins for us over here. So we've got to do the same thing over here. And it's really dumb that I look this up every time. So like I said, these debug things are already not very efficient. So I'm not worried about that synchronize in the... Okay, so we need to call set view origin. We need to have a set view origin. And that is why we can actually be good boys and girls and give them the whole thing. camera. Okay. All right. So now we should have something. That had to be the only problem. Sure, what else could go wrong? I was hoping to actually get probes. If we can get that in the next 15 minutes, that'd be cool. Up, our burb disappeared. We gotta. Oh, no, he's there. Oh, there he's disappeared. Okay, we'll place another one. Okay, so things are still not in the right place. Ooh, but the view location is better. So it is being set to the right place, I imagine. Or it's around somewhere. Here's a trick. If we go into the debug settings and we turn stuff off, so that there's nothing, no far trees, no far structures. We should be getting a solid box. And there is one, I'm just thinking it's probably not attached to anything. Maybe there was an issue there. Hey, look, there's a bench over there. See, the ball was already there. That's his, bounding shape, and there's a little yellow box that's his origin. All of the rigid bodies should have that, but he should have a really big, solid, 1 meter square box that's right at his origin, and he does not. So, you know what? I will change it to red first of all. Matrix white. So we'll change this to red just so we make sure to see it. But see, we got like it's 1 meter square. Definitely have a view. We definitely blah blah blah. Do we ever call acquire? Yes. Okay, but that doesn't matter. So let's see if we attach it. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Oh God. Yeah, I attached the debug view. So what I need to do instead of this, view world location, view get world translation. Okay, I probably don't need that anymore. Right, what have I done? I missed something. We've got a mesh, got a material. Oh, I know what I did. Durr. I create this special root node here, and I create it, but I never attached it to anything. So we are actually 100% right, but the root node we're attaching ourselves to, it doesn't actually. It's not in the scene. It's not in the scene, man. It's not a cool kid like the rest of us. And so we need to make a get root because these are. I keep meaning to make these a standard part of every app state, but because get root's so common to have a local root or get the root node of the application. So okay, so we'll leave the debug in, but I don't think we need it. I think this will actually work. Just in time too, because the Pepsi's all gone. Oops. Okay, so if I can get this done, I get this working, then we spend 10 minutes trying to get the probe to show up in the right place. We'll make a little sphere, and then you guys can see that stuff actually is hooked up. Tell you what, I'll just keep going until we get the little sphere in the probe location. That menu music is not even the real Mythruna theme, but it's like taken over in my brain. Okay, there he is. Look at, he's got a big box around his origin. Okay, so now we need to put the box where the probe is. Oh no. And when the object goes away, we need to remove its, yeah, okay. I got that. I gotcha. That's easy. Because we've already created a release method, didn't we? Yeah, release. And we never call it anywhere. So that's what we need to do here. Object release. So now when the objects are removed, we'll get rid of them. Technically, we could have put... No, this update's only called if the entity changes. Okay. So it's in the right place. We'll get rid of these debugs. We don't need them anymore. What we do need is to set the orientation of our... What we want to do is actually make a little root. So this would actually be a node, private node view. And then our geometry is the probe view. Probe? Yeah, we'll just call it probe geom. Okay, so we'll make this probe geom. And so then the view, new node, that's where we can use this. Give it this ID in case we dump the scene graph and we want to see it. Whoops. View, attach child, probe geom. And you'll see the reason, I'm just going to do it as a test real quick. We'll just do this, probe geom, move 0, we'll move it up 0.5 meter and out 0.5 meter. Up, whoops. So we've got a root node that will be centered at the origin of our rigid body. And then the probe geom, which would be spaced up 0.5 meter and out 0.5 meter. So that means the edge of our 0.5 meter box should exactly be the center of our... This is not the real probe, but I'm just going to prove that the orientation will work, because we've got to do this, the part I didn't copy, which is make sure the view, yep, view, so make sure the local rotation is set to the same as the body so that everything moves like it's supposed to. And so now actually we can make these smaller, so the box is now only going to be 0.5 meter big, so it'll be stuck out in front like it was a probe. It's not in the right place yet, but I just want to prove that the orientation is working correctly. And we're going to have to place another burb. It's funny because the model in the resources is still called penduck. Pingduck. Penduck, pingduck. I can't remember if I put a G in there. But he's a Gathan. Okay, so let's place the thing. Ah, look at that. He's got a box on his nose. So that part's working. Now let's hook it up to the probe, the actual probe info, but you can kind of see how he's navigating because the probe is not too far off of there, as you can see, like as soon as it starts to hit. Yeah, see? That's how he tells he's about to run into something. We're getting somewhere. Good, good. Okay. So now, if we go to agent driver, we ought to be able to say, get probe offset. Return probe offset. Man, what a strange thing to have called it. Yeah, it's always nice when a plan comes together, as they said on the A-team. Also dating myself, although when I was a kid I didn't actually watch the A-team. But I do know that Hannibal loved it when a plan came together. Alright, so get probe offset. Whoa. Let's, alright. So, back over to here. So, instead of this, we will assume that our probe will not change during runtime for now. And then we will set, okay, we already know we have a view, we already know we have probe geom. Set local translation offset to vector 3f. Okay, so now it will be placed appropriately for the probe, but let's also make it a real thing now. We want it to be a sphere, and we're gonna have to yes, that's the other thing. We're gonna be able to set its size, right? Sphere has, let's see, a bunch of parameters. That's what JavaDoc is for. Although the newer form of JavaDoc, with the later versions of Java, completely messes me up. Okay, so we want whoa, where do we go? Mouse wheel strikes again. Alright. It's if I hit the control and my mouse wheel moves on its own, it switches me to like control up and down on the mouse wheel changes the file I'm typing in. And so when I'm holding control for something else and the mouse wheel decides to turn on its own, it really messes me up. Okay, so let's do 6 samples vertically. I can't see it moved on its own there. I just wasn't hitting control. Radial samples, let's do 8. And then the radius we'll let stay 0.25 for now. We don't know what better to make it. So that'll be a sphere. It'll be red. But why don't we make it transparent? So 1, 0, 0, 0, 2, 5, F for now. And we will then have to do this, which is transparent. And this one I almost always have to look up because do render queue bucket because I never remember what to import for that. Okay, so it's in the transparent bucket along with all the other stuff. We've made it, and can we set the probe? Where's my agent driver? There it is. Public double get probe radius. Turn probe radius. Let's hope it's that. Yeah, I know you have to use the search. I mean, half of what I know about Java, I learned because I'm going down through here and I saw something interesting. Oh, train quad, that sounds cool. You know, I don't want to search for it. I want to like see everything at a glance. And it really pains me that there's no option. Like I could see them making it the default, and I understand they don't want to support it, but for folks like me, I would be perfectly happy to generate the Java doc locally if that's what it took. I just can't. I'm just not happy about it. In my house we joke about things, when I don't agree with somebody, and I tell my wife and I are talking, and I'm like, nobody asked me. Like, they never asked me my opinion. Like, the world would be a better place if they just asked me my opinion about stuff. What the hell was I doing? Oh yeah. So, do we not save the radius? We don't. So we should. Double radius. And so, whoopsie. Where'd we go? This radius equals radius. Okay, so we got radius. Blah, 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 blah. We can get the radius. We'll chop that because I don't like typing. I'd rather scroll than type. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Javadoc thing, that bugs me. And so, like, when I'm looking at APIs, even though if I'm using a new version of Guava or something, I always look at the older Javadoc, whatever Javadoc was the last version they generated that had frames, because I just can't stand it. Okay, so if we've attached it, then we want to say driver got probe radius, and I believe sphere will let us update the radius later. Yeah. It's just not very pleasant about it. So probe, sphere, update geometry. We got to copy all our settings from before. Oops, wrong place. And so we will say float radius. And this should be everything we need to see where the actual probe is. And let's see. And I would have only been 2 minutes late. Oh, RGAB. RGBA. I may do one more thing and switch on wireframe for this. I just think that it'll get lost in the other spheres. So I thought maybe making it solid would be solid but semi-transparent. And red, I think it should be good. We shall see. Everything always requires tweaking. Endless tweaking. This may be one of the few live streams where I actually finish what I intended within the allotted time. Yep, there he is. That's where the probe is. And so I tried to make the probe low enough. Actually, it's too low. Huh. Because he's supposed to be able to walk up, small inclines and things. So probably that needs to be taller. So already we see something, and here's something we can do, right? We can say, right now this is hard-coded in the agent driver, and eventually it'll be part of. So I'm big on hacking things in to get them to work, and for some things when you don't really know what you're doing, and haven't really decided a real way to do it yet. So I've hacked in this probe, and eventually it'll be part of the description of a mob. A particular mob will have what AI behaviors it should use, what animations it has available, and so on. Soccer fjord. Okay, so anyway, so we had the probe directly out in front of us, but that's interesting. This makes it look like it should have been in the ground. No, it should have been directly in front of our center of gravity. That's what it is. That makes sense. And it was directly in front of our center of gravity. But now, and I should have probably captured a screenshot so we could see it move. So we will be moving it up a full radius. That should be good. Let's see. We will definitely see if it moved. It didn't look transparent though, did it? Oh, I didn't set the blend mode. Always one other thing. All right. Well, before we get too far into this, let's go set the blend mode. I like JMonkey Engine because it lets me set all the little things. Sometimes I don't like JMonkey Engine because it makes me set all the little things. And blend mode's another one I'm going to have to import. Oh, I see. Yeah. Kick it around a soccer ball. Soccer Gafen soccer. Okay, where did I want to look for? Okay, blend mode. Not that one, that one. Okay, so another one we got to specifically import. The other thing, so the original authors of JMonkey Engine and I have a slightly different philosophy on how classes should be laid out in packages and things, because I like to use star. Like if I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. Like if I just want one class for math, I'll import it. But if I'm going to be using like a bunch of things for math, I'll do .star. And so I arrange my APIs a little bit like that. Like if I'm going to use lemur, I should be able to import just, com_sub_silica lemur .star, and I'll have button and label and anything those guys would normally need through their API. And then specific implementations are tucked away under subpackages. So I might have arranged this differently than they did, and that would have made my development life easier. Uh-oh, somebody's bubbling in my phone. Okay. Yeah, I need to call it soon because kids are going to bed and stuff. That should do it. We should be able to run and see transparency. And it should... this should get it. Oh, get material. You see, now that I'm in a hurry, I'm going to make mistakes. Okay. That would also be where we would set wireframe, but I'm not going to do it because I wanted it solid. Okay. So if this works, you guys can think about any last minute questions you might have, because I'm going to need to wrap up the stream here in a minute. Only 8 minutes late. Might be a record for me to actually have gotten what I intended to get done in a stream and only run over by about 8 minutes. I can tolerate that. Where did the burb go? There he is. Okay, it's semi-transparent now, and it's higher, right? In fact, it's harder to see now. What we can do is we get rid of the body debug. Yeah, so now we can see just the... Yep, see, it's higher. It's above the ground now. So if there was a low block, he might be able to detect that differently. Right, but you can see when he bumps into something, he turns. And, he disappeared. So make a new one. He gets stuck in the corner, turns around. He's got that little probe that he uses to tell his way around. And now I can see what increasing or decreasing the radius, what effect that would have. And so it's working. And he's no longer kicking around a soccer ball. He's holding it in imaginary hands. And I may make that a little darker because it's a little too light. Anyway, it's working. And we got something working in one thing. And then it was a lot of coding. Thanks for sticking with me in that. I know it's kind of boring to watch me code. Maybe, hopefully you were entertained. And I'm not sure what the next live stream will be. But I do know that I'm going to be off starting that Friday, or maybe even that Thursday. And so it's going to be, coding Mythruna week. And so I might kick off with something special. It just depends on what I get done this weekend and this week. Now that the probe is working, maybe I'll play with some AI, but I do want to finalize the control modes for the weapon dragging and stuff so that you can switch different modes. And so we might be able to try them out on a server or something when I release. And I have to start planning what I'm actually going to get into the release because my priorities have changed somewhat. I'm trying to get to a public release again, and there's some critical things that I have to do tasking wise as far as getting my dedicated server back up full time, because right now I turn it off when I'm busy doing stuff on that computer, and I have a separate computer for it, and I got a UPS that I need to refurbish to get all that up and running again, so we get Mythruna back up on its own server. I want to try to finalize the world fractals a little bit so that I don't have to adjust those later, and there's some server admin things I need to take care of before I start letting, you know, the several hundred people into the server. But that's, I'm trying to get to be able to like open up the downloads in the new year. So that might shift my priorities a little bit over the Christmas break. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Thanks again.